the Opupco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson. He's Barry Trammell, and we're brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Go online right now and order your pizza at papajohns.com. It's time for Inbox, Barry. We take some email questions here on video. Email us, and you can see your question on Inbox someday soon. All right, let's go to the inbox from Jeff. He says, I realize that West Virginia and OSU made some bad mistakes Saturday, but it sure seemed like the officials were protecting Alabama and Florida State. How catastrophic would it have been for the new playoff system if the projected final two teams, in many pundits' opinion, would have been upset by unranked, middle-of-the-pack Big 12 teams?
0% catastrophic. I mean, you think, what, Temple and Utah are going to end up in the Final Four? I mean, if Alabama gets knocked out, Florida State gets knocked out, that means Oregon and Michigan are going to make it, or Oklahoma and Georgia. I mean, college football is not going to run out of marquee teams. And here's the deal, folks. Please lay aside the conspiracy theories about officiating. Here's what would be catastrophic. If someone discovered that college football, the playoff committee, ESPN, the powers that be, had conspired to rig games, that was what, that's the definition of catastrophe.
Yeah, and there's no evidence of that. I tell you, I think people talking about officials, complaining about officials, that's probably the thing I hear most. I don't know about you, but I hear it a ton. People really get hung up on it. And as the daughter of an official, now it was at the high school level, but he officiated for many decades, there's no agenda. To say that somebody's going out and having an agenda for or against a team, that's not what officials do. So let's get that out of our heads. And by the way, if those two teams would have lost on Saturday, those are still marquee type games against other major college opponents. We'd have got to see what the selection system did with that. So I don't think there's any catastrophe in a loss by either of those teams. All right, back to the inbox from Derek. Derek says, how many more games are lost on special team gaffes before Mike Gundy hires a special teams coordinator? Lots of mistakes on Saturday on the special teams for the Cowboys.
I'll say 37.
37 gaffes?
I'm just trying to guess how many more games Mike Gundy's going to lose in his career. I don't know. If he coaches 15 more years, that's 2.5 losses a year. I don't know. He's not going to hire a special teams coordinator, I don't think. I like the idea, but college coaches just don't do that. I wish they would. I've told them to do it. Bob Stoops, Mike Gundy, both. But for whatever reason, they're limited on coaching staffs, and they bring in guys that can recruit and coach a position as well. Oklahoma State was very lucky that for many years Joe DeForest was in that job. He could coach the corners, but also was full bore into the special teams. OU now has a guy in Jay Boulware that's pretty good at that. But I don't see the colleges going the way of the NFL and hiring a guy like a John Harbaugh to be a special teams coordinator.
You mentioned Joe DeForest and Jay Boulware, and that was more luck, in my estimation, that they landed at those schools with that special teams knowledge than anything. They weren't hired because of their special teams abilities. They were hired because of their recruiting abilities, their coaching abilities on the defensive side of the ball. So to me, you just sort of luck into a special teams guy on your staff, and right now OSU's out of luck. They don't have that guy on their staff, and I think what we have to be reminded of is the next time a coach says we worry about 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, look and see if they have a special teams coordinator and call shenanigans on that, because clearly if you're not devoting the time and the resources, you're not coaching it the same. It doesn't matter as much. All right, back to the inbox from Travis. Travis says, curious what you think of Mack Brown taking the Nebraska job if it comes open. Already firing Bo Pelini, Barry.
Well, you know, I would talk about how the ridiculousness of speculating about Mack Brown and jobs that aren't open. Except last month I wrote a column saying, hey, Mack Brown would be a good coach at Arkansas. So, you know, Travis is just walking down my boulevard. I don't think Nebraska is as good a fit as Arkansas. For one thing, Nebraskans hate Texas, in case you hadn't noticed. Mack beat the Cornhuskers on a regular basis. But the main thing is just Mack's personality. It's sort of, he's got the southwestern thing going. I don't know if that fits great at Nebraska. He's now getting up into, he'd be 62, 63 next season. I don't see it. I don't think it's a great fit. I think some place farther south is a better fit. I don't know if Bo Pelini will be back or not, but if he's not, I don't think it'll be Mack Brown taking his place.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture Mack Brown in Lincoln, Nebraska, talking to the Husker backers of, Platte County or something. It just doesn't feel quite right. And not to say that he couldn't do a good job, because I think he could, but, it just doesn't feel right. And Nebraska would probably look somewhere else for a coach, but I could see Matt getting back into coaching. I don't think there's any question that, he could return to the sidelines. I think he would still be coaching Texas if he had his druthers. So I don't know why he wouldn't maybe look at options if they're out there. And who knows, maybe instead of a high profile program, maybe he goes back to something sort of in the middle without quite as much pressure. I mean, you think about North Carolina where he came from. It's a basketball school. Pressure's not on. I'm not saying he's going to North Carolina, but something like that, maybe that's where the fit is for Mack Brown if he gets back into coaching. All right, this one's from Bob. Bob says, you cannot keep all OU running backs happy next year when Joe Mixon comes back, and you would have to redshirt one of those guys. How about moving Pirine to fullback, Barry?
Well, I think it's great if it's 1977 and the OU wishbone is in high gear. But Samaje Perine looks to me like a big-time running back, a guy with the ball in his hands doing damage. OU fullbacks, that's not what they do anymore. Dimitri Flowers, first of all, looks like a stud at fullback, blocking and catching the ball. I think if the Sooners have to move somebody, I don't think it's going to be Perine. I think he may be the future star at tailback, Joe Mixon included. So I don't think you're going to be seeing Perine move.
Yeah, I don't either. And you know what? Even if Joe Mixon is back, would it maybe be hard to find enough carries for all these guys? Yeah, it's gonna be some work. But if you're OU, you remember days when you were wanting, could we just have one more? Is there another guy maybe we could hand the ball to? Running back depth can look extremely deep one week and extremely thin the next week. It doesn't take long for running backs to, have a tweak here, maybe not quite be at 100%, get hurt. If you go from 4 to 3 and then suddenly one of the 3 has something minor and you're down to 2, then you're looking around thinking, man, I wonder who else we could hand the ball off to. So I think if you're OU, you try to keep all 4 at running back and just spread it out as much as you can. They're throwing the ball out of the backfield too, so there's multiple different ways that they can get the ball in these guys' hands, and they just have to hope that maybe they'll all accept it and be part of a winning program. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.